Hi, I'm Matthew Boyd, and as you might already know due to the title, I'm doing my podcast on ancient people and the general population's views of ancient humans and how people's views are affected by popular culture. However, instead of focusing on the global population, I will be focusing on Australia, as the global population's views and culture differ so greatly between countries. First, I'm going to go through some of the much needed background knowledge on the topic. Then I'll discuss the question, are our views of ancient humans influenced by popular culture? So, firstly, what is popular culture? Well, in relation to my question, it is basically a generalization or a point of view given to a population that is fit to the majority of the population's views. As this is the case, these views are constantly changing and extremely hard to accurately judge what these generic points of views are at any given time. Usually these generalizations are dumbed down to suit the majority of the population, and in my topic's case, these views are not necessarily factual based, although depending on an individual and how much background knowledge they have on a certain topic or a subject, the individual may reject these popular views. However, it is definitive that general population and the average man are influenced by popular culture. Why this is the case, I will discuss later, but first I will give an evaluation on the current general population's views on ancient humans. Currently, it seems that the views held by Australian societies regarding ancient humans are going through a transitional phase from the old 20th century views to a more scientific-based 21st century view. The view of the stereotypical caveman is unintelligent, uncultured, primitive, brutish, inferior to modern humans, and ape-like is now being rejected, becoming a fictional view. The reason this is happening is due to many factors. Some of these include the fact that anthropology is rising in popularity as the study is becoming increasingly well known throughout Australia. Populations are now transitioning from skewed fictional-based views to scientifically correct ones, as the education system is teaching evolution to all kids. This transition in popular culture can be seen in how much the media puts a negative spin on ancient humans. Presently, the media industry is still continuing to use negative stereotypes of ancient people in articles. However, there has been a large increase in the number of factual documentaries or articles on this subject and a decrease of fictional movies and TV shows. For example, since 2000 there have been only 2 major movie releases where the stereotypical caveman was a major part of the film, which were 10,000 BC and Year One. Compared with the 1900s, there's been a huge decrease where hundreds of movies were created and released to cinemas. Another thing that is important about this is that both films received terrible reviews and rated badly, as many critics and people said they were inaccurate according to archaeological studies and science. One major area on this topic that is very debatable is whether or not people with no knowledge of human origins or ancient people believe that the old views on cavemen are actually factual or fictional. Making generalizations on this is very difficult, as individuals will always differ. However, let's take the TV show The Flintstones. This cartoon depicted the stereotypical caveman pretty much exactly, and in the majority of the populations of Australia, it has been watched or at least heard about. Now, here's a short clip of what The Flintstones is.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, they're the modern Stone family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history. Let's ride with the family down the street, through the courtesy of Preston Beat. When you're with the Flintstones, have a yabba dabba do time, a dabba do time, we'll have a gay old time.
As you can see, it depicts the stereotypical caveman perfectly, and if you went up to an average person with no background knowledge of ancient humans or evolution who has watched this program and asked them, do you think this TV show is based in fact and evidence? It is probable they would say no, as Australians seem to have a general idea of what is fact and what is fiction. In our societies, cavemen have essentially become a fictional stock character in our minds that when compared to someone, we think of them as primitive, unintelligent, and ape-like. The term ancient human, however, is completely different to the term caveman. When one hears it, many people in today's society would think of ancient people farming, doing everything by hand, or nomadic hunter-gatherer societies. Another point that should be made is that a large number of populations will not have an interest in human origins or ancient people,
and may know nothing about it due to their own personal interests. This basically means that they have no point of view on the subject, and until these people were to engage with the topic by talking, reading, or watching something to do with it, generalizations about them being influenced by popular culture are impossible to make until they form an opinion. So, onto the question of, are our views affected by popular culture? It is definitive that your view is affected in some way by the popular culture, as it is just a common generalized view given to the population which defines how popular the topic is and how much is known about it throughout the population. To what extent you're affected, though, is different for each person, as many factors can change the popular culture local to you. Something as generic as where you live or the level of education you're getting on the subject will change the person's view. For example, in America, many schools do not get taught anything related to evolution or human origins due to conflicts between religious groups and scientists. However, if you are someone who does have an interest in science and believes it is a factual-based area of study, then it is likely that you will be able to tell the difference between the scientifically based views and the stereotypical ones. Continuing on, how are our views affected by popular culture? Well, this question is fairly simple. As I mentioned before, popular culture is just a point of view common to the majority of the population if you're talking about the views of people. These points of view constantly change, and they're affected and influenced by the culture of a society and the media, the education system, and common religious beliefs within these societies. Things like television, movies, newspapers, the internet, documentaries, books, and even cartoons will affect the way you think and your views. Again, how much your views are affected depends on the individual and how much background knowledge you have. To conclude my discussion, it seems that this old, stereotypical caveman analogy has become a very unpopular and outdated view on ancient people. Now, the general population of Australia seems to hold two views on ancient people. There is the factual-based one and the fictional stereotype. The factual view is gradually becoming more scientifically correct, in which the ancient people were very similar to us, just lacking advanced technologies and being behaviorally different. The fictional view is simply that of the stock character, the stereotypical caveman. Nowadays, when someone is compared to a caveman, people think of the stereotypical caveman. Even though individual opinions will differ, any single person will always be somewhat influenced by the popular culture that is local to them. It's just a matter of how much they influenced. Thank you for listening to my discussion. Please feel free to comment.